Hey, I'm Imran Siddiq, Web Squadron, and I want to talk to you about the latest announcement from the Elementor team. You know, the Elementor Community Hub that was set up what was it now, 7-8 months ago? And it was meant to be a location or a hub for people to come and share ideas about Elementor, to get advice, help, guidance, and to have a repository of documents and tips and hints that people have provided over the coming months and the past as well. By the way, I'm Imran Web Squadron. Like I said, I'm glad you're listening to this podcast and probably watching on YouTube as well. We're here to help you, your clients, and your businesses get the most out of Elementor, WordPress, websites, design, marketing, branding. Back to the topic, Elementor Community Hub. Like I said, it's been announced that is now going to be kind of pulled from the shelf, shut down, chucked away. Probably not chucked away, that's probably a bit harsh, but it's going to be shut down. And there has been a bit of a mixed response coming from the community, people that use Elementor. So I'm going to talk about how it came about, what else is out there, and what is the possible reasons for why it's being shut down. Now, I do not know the exact reason. I want to make that clear right now. But I can make some assumptions, and I think these assumptions are pretty well-educated assumptions. So let's go back in time a little bit. Elementor, as a page builder, you know, it's had over 10 million subscribers or active installations, and people using it to build their websites. It's a beast. It is amazing. There are tons of other page builders out there as well. But Elementor, for me, wins hands down. Am I biased? Of course, because I love using Elementor. I don't work for them. I'm not, they're not paying me to do this video or podcast or anything, but I'm just being really honest about how much I love them and what they do and make it easier for people like me and others to build amazing websites. Okay, enough of that. Now, as the community grows, as more and more people use it, questions arise. Someone hits a problem, or they have an issue, or they need some support. And usually they would kind of pose a question on a support forum, like a support ticket almost, to the Elementor support team. Or you might do it on the plugin page as well. Now, eventually over time, and we are going back a long time ago here, okay, the Elementor community group was set up on Facebook. Right now, at the time of recording, it has over 125,000 people joined on that group. Just think about that number, 125,000. When I first joined the group about 19 months ago, it was at the 100,000 mark. So in almost 2 years, it's gained another 25,000. That is how powerful that group is. And there are tons of people using it. Different skill sets. Newbies, people, veterans, people who are expert coders, people who are new. It is a very cool community. I'm not going to lie, there will be the odd person in there who is a little bit overcritical, or maybe is a little bit kind of harsh with their advice or whatever they want to do when they're helping someone. But then you have loads of other people on there. I like to think I'm one of them that are ever helpful, where we love to know that we have made a difference. Anyway, we had the Elementor Community Facebook group. We also had 3 other groups that came about that are also really big. We got the Building Businesses with Elementor. We got the Elementor and Witch plugin. And we have the Elementor Design community. So as far as I'm concerned, there are 4 big Facebook groups out there already. And I'm a member of all of them. And let me tell you something now. If you are an active member, and I mean someone who actually engages and comments and gets involved, every morning, every day, you will wake up, or whenever you're on Facebook, you will have loads of notifications. And now I'm not just talking about notifications where someone has liked a post or responded to a post that you previously commented on. I'm talking about people asking you questions, direct messages, messages within someone else's post, maybe someone commenting on something you missed or how helpful it was. It happens. And if, like me, you use a lot of social media, that can be quite a lot of posts coming your way. Now, let me now leave the Facebook stuff behind and now jump onto the Elementor Community Hub. The Elementor Community Hub, that was started, about 7-8 months ago. It was an experiment in its way, and it was meant to be something whereby rather than you always posing your questions on the Facebook groups, you would now go to this hub. And this hub would be where they kind of update you about basically updates, new things happening with Elementor. Maybe there's a fix, maybe there's a bug, maybe there's a topic you want to openly expand on. I participated in the SEO performance chat. I think it was September, October time last year. 2021, by the way. And it was great. Great with talking with other experts about how you can improve your SEO and your performance of your pages and things like that. It was a great group to be part of. And it was meant to pull people in, and it did pull people into the hub. Because it now meant rather than you asking the same question over and over again in the Facebook group, you have somewhere to go to. You have like a repository of guidance, of articles, of things that are going to support you. The amount of times I've seen people pose on the Facebook group. I've just done an update. I'm in the edit screen. It looks great. I go to live. It's not showing me the live version. What's going on here? Is it broken? Do I need to panic? And often the solution is regenerate, purge your site, your server, reboot your internet maybe even use a WP Optimize whatever plugin to help yourself out. And this advice, the amount of times that I give it, and Nicholas, if you're listening, that he gives it as well, we are forever giving that advice out. On the Community Hub, the answer is there for you to do that. However, that doesn't mean that people will always search for an answer on the repository. And here I'm going to come on to why I think we're moving away from the hub and why it's being shut down in due course. Because on the Facebook groups, you pose a question. How many times do you bother to look for the answer? I do if I need to just double check something, but I bet a lot of people don't. And the reason I say that is because if they had, they would have found their answer instantly. Questions like sliders not working, or the carousel, or the navigation drop-downs not working, version 3.6.3, all of this stuff. You would find the answer quite easily. The same, I think, applies to the Community Hub, because I was an active member of it when it kicked off, and I found the same questions were still being asked quite repeatedly. So every day you'd have like a post where someone has posed a question, 20 people might have replied to it, that person is happy, but then a day later the same question is asked again. Even though if that person had just looked at the screen, they surely would have noticed the same question posed like 4 or 5 posts below theirs. And unlike a Facebook post, which can be quite long with loads of pictures, I'm just talking about a header and a line. There's no way they could have missed that there was a 4th post on the screen at the same time that answered the exact same question. And that then makes me think, well, people just aren't bothering to search. And you can't blame people for that. We live in a world where now impatience is a virtue almost. No one wants to wait. No one wants to dig for the answer. We just want the answer now. The minute we hear something's happened, we want to jump onto Twitter or wherever and go, well, what's happening? What's the latest news? I just heard someone's died. And you go on, and they haven't died. It was just someone who accidentally put something and it was misconstrued. It happens, doesn't it? So I can see how the Elementor Hub was meant to be a repository, and it had tons of good info, do not get me wrong. However, was it being fully utilized and used? Now let's go on to the upkeep, okay? You got the Facebook groups, the community group, Design with Elementor, Elementor Design Community, Building Businesses with Elementor, and the Elementor Witch plugin. These are 4 great groups, and if you love Elementor, I definitely recommend you join those 4 Facebook groups. Those groups, the admin time for it, you will have moderators, and those moderators have to take time to respond to when they've been notified of a spam or harassment or someone not following the rules. They've got to respond to that. The moderators have also got to make sure that people aren't doing spammy links on there as well. And they've also got to make sure that people are basically playing ball really, okay? That they're not kind of doing stuff they should not be doing on that group. I mean, you know what I mean, right? Moderators. The Elementor Community Hub would have had moderators as well. And I know a lot of the moderators on there were doing a heck of a lot of work. They were not only were they having to watch out for any scandalous posts or spams or anything like that, but they're having to moderate content as well. They're having to check up on people as well. So let's say someone has done a post, right? And say I've answered that post, but the person who originally posted it has not come back to say, great, that solves the problem. They haven't closed down the post to say it's solved, or was my answer the best answer? So the moderators are having to chase the original poster to get that post closed. And the reason I know that is because often I would see a comment appear saying, so was Imran's response okay? Did that solve your problem? And I have to give credit to them for doing that. Because what if someone else found that same problem and I've given an answer, but the original poster has not come back to say, that solved my problem? Well, unless you let the world know that that worked for you, how's anyone else going to know to trust the answer that was supplied? So there was a ton of chasing up going on there. Okay, so we're talking about moderation time. Facebook has moderation, but the Hub, in my opinion, had a whole lot more going on there. Then we come on to the fact that I used to get tons of notifications. Now, when it first started off, I didn't use the Community Hub for about 3 to 4 weeks, just because I thought it's totally brand new. Let some momentum build with it. Let people start engaging with it, just because I had my finger in many pies doing loads of stuff. So I just want to give you an example of where I come from, okay? In terms of, I do YouTube, okay? I'm an active member of these Facebook groups, okay? I'm always posing. I'm always posting stuff. Replies, advice, answers or whatever, or videos and stuff like that. I also have a web design agency. So if you imagine every morning, I've probably got about 10 Twitter messages to read up. I've got LinkedIn messages. I've got 20, 30 posts every morning. And they're not all notifications. I want you to know that 50% of them are usually direct messages to me for stuff or advice or whatever. Then I've got the emails coming from our design agency, and they might be new queries or people that want a proposal. Then I've got my existing clients, okay? So without going over the top on this, I have loads of notifications. And the notifications I deal with in the morning, I've got to deal with during the day as well, and afternoon and evening. There's always stuff coming in. Doesn't often stop. And you got YouTube comments as well. You wake up and you go, all right, better respond to that as well. So I had loads of that going on. In October, I really hit it with the Elementor Community Hub. I really every day I was on it, answering questions, helping people out, just giving tons and tons of advice. And I was having to balance that across everything else. And I found that there was 1 week in October where I realized I'd spent maybe 7-8 hours a day. And you might go, no, you're talking rubbish. No, I'm not joking here. 7-8 hours a day juggling messages and comments back and forth from all these areas and the Community Hub. Now, the difference between the Community Hub was that they email you when you get a notification. So with Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of that, you don't always get an email notification, especially from the YouTube. But Facebook, Twitter, you don't really get it. It's on your phone or your computer and you answer when you want to answer. But with the Elementor Community Hub, I am not kidding you. I would have 30 messages. And the minute you reply to someone, you get another email back 5 minutes later. Oh, they've now replied. And they need a bit more help, or they didn't quite understand, or you've got to dig a bit deeper into solving the problem. And you can lose time massively. And again, I'm not saying this is the reason why the Community Hub is being shut down, but I'm just trying to give you an example here of how I think the time to manage that started to outweigh where resources were for the Elementor team. Okay, and I'm going to come back onto that in a moment, but back to me. So I've got tons of messages coming in. And guess what? From November onwards, I started using the Elementor Community Hub less and less. And they're probably going to hate me saying this, but I did. Since January, I've only logged on now and again when I've got a direct message come to me and I've got to log on to just check what it is or answer it. Not because I had anything against it, but because I suddenly realized my time is fully on there. And I'm not being able to focus on other areas. And those other areas started to suffer because of it. And in the end, I just moved back to what was I doing before I moved on to the hub. That is not a criticism. It's just that I was inundated. And it's great to be inundated. Some people would say, I would love to be messaged. Yep, that's fine. But when you're juggling a lot, and now we've moved into podcasting as well, we've got to balance the time. Because I have to be honest, at the end of the day, you always got to make sure that you put your web design work, your agency work at the top of what you do, because that's where you're going to really earn your money. Everything else is gravy in a way. And the hub, there wasn't much work generated from there, but that wasn't my intention of using it. However, there was tons of questions coming out of it that I felt like I was almost in a revolving door with continuously answering. So I mentioned resources, okay? So we now have the Elementor Cloud, and they've got a live support chat on there now, which I think is fantastic. If you've not used Elementor Cloud, you so should, okay? Maybe you won't use it for yourself, but for your clients, it is a brilliant, brilliant business model. You gotta go for it, okay? For your clients, okay? $99. You get your Google Cloud hosting and all of that, and Elementor Pro. It's amazing. But if you imagine the Elementor resources now, they are stretched, okay? You got the hub, you got the Elementor Cloud, and I bet there's going to be some shared resources between the support teams there. You got the Facebook group as well, and you'll have other arms or things they're working on that we probably don't even know about. Hey, we're all waiting for the Elementor mega menu, and we can't wait for the Flex container. There's going to be people working on stuff. So how much could they keep supporting the hub? Because every time a question gets posed on the hub, someone's got to be quick to moderate and check it's not a scam or a spam or something scandalous or malicious going on there. Because the forum, you've got to make sure you're controlling that, okay? With Facebook, you know there's always going to be a spam comment appear every now and again. So when you see it, you choose to ignore and you let it go. But on a forum, you expect someone to be there on the get-go to sort it out straight away, right? So resources are being stretched. Now, if we go full circle to where I started with, which was many, many moons ago, about the 4 Facebook groups, we've already got them. And I am now going to annoy millions of people out there by saying I actually am not going to miss the hub too much. I think it was great. I supported it and it had my backing and I was involved in it, but I had to slowly drag myself away from it. And I felt bad when I did that because I found I was struggling with time. And if I'm struggling with time, I'm now starting to imagine, what about Elementor's resources? What about support team? What about moderators? What about the world? And I am finding that by using the Facebook group, I'm probably getting a wider reach because there will be people brand new to Elementor who've never used it before. They've heard of the cloud. They maybe used a different page builder, or they've always worked in Classic Editor in WordPress, and now they want to make the leap into Elementor. And if they're being told, well, if you want the answers to your questions, you've got to create a login and go to a support forum hub, whole caboodle thing, it might put some people off. Because they might feel like, do I really want to pose my question on somewhere that's filled with experts? They might feel embarrassed, or they might be worried about how they're going to come across. I mean, I know a lot of web design agency freelancer people who sometimes are afraid to pose a question because they feel like they don't want people to question their ability. And I have to say to them, we are always asking questions. I double check with someone, how did we do that again? Or what does that mean? That's life. That is fact, okay? It's okay to ask the question. But there is something about our psychology in where asking on Facebook or Twitter, we sort of feel more relaxed. Do you know what I mean? So you could literally go onto Twitter and say, what does this word mean? And you're most likely going to get an answer. Whereas you probably wouldn't put it on a forum, but there's something about Twitter, Facebook, stuff like that, where you almost feel like detached from almost overly caring about how people will view what you've written. Because there's always a high chance that someone else is thinking that exact same question and they may see that. Now, what we need to do going forwards is people who ask questions on Facebook, we do need to try and promote more that they need to search for the answer in the Facebook group, because the answer is there, believe me. Tons of questions that are asked, the answer is there. A very bespoke question like, how do I create this type of slider or this type of page or whatever, that is entirely open to interpretation and is very subjective. But if you ask a question that you think, well, I'm sure someone else has got this problem as well, have a search. You're probably going to find the answer. So what I'm trying to get to in this very long lecture rant, or whatever you want to call it, is the Elementor Community Hub is shutting down. Am I going to miss it? No. Was it good when they set it up? Yes. But is it needed? And that's where I'm getting to. We all love to start things up. We think there's a gap and we go, right, we're going to do X, Y, Z. We've all done that in our businesses, in your agencies, in your life, whatever. Oh, I'm going to decorate. 2 weeks later, you go, wow, I really don't like the look of that now. And then you go and adapt. So what they started, the intention was there. The heart was there. The momentum, the drive, the mojo, it was there. However, I think it's better putting that into the cloud and into the Facebook groups. And I think, the stuff that Elementor are producing on YouTube and stuff is amazing, okay? And the people, the family, the community they create, it's great. And I think that, having it split between the hub and the Facebook group, I think it started to become a little bit splintered, okay? That, you could get a certain type of answer on the Facebook group and a certain type of answer on the community hub. And you have different people using different places. And I think by having them mainly in the Facebook groups I've mentioned, I think could be better overall for the community. You are not going to like what I say, okay? And if you're listening to this on podcast, hey, drop us an email, contact us, go watch our YouTube video, leave a comment. And if you're watching on YouTube, please do comment. I don't mind if you say I'm talking absolutely balderdash rubbish or whatever okay? You can say that because this is just my opinion, but am I going to miss it? No. Am I going to move on and carry on with the Facebook group? Of course. And are you going to keep listening and seeing and getting to know me? Of course you will. Hey, I'm Imran Web Squadron. I hope you like, subscribe, share and follow. Don't throw any tomatoes at me. And I'll see you soon.